right, go ahead, Jonas.
Hey, Coach, hope all is well. Thank you for taking the time and speaking with us. I was talking to Shaheem and Tanner, two of your defensive backs, about covering UVA's receiver. They have a 6'7" receiver and a 6'7" tight end. How do you kind of simulate that kind of size and length in practice? I mean, do you go ask Coach Keats, can you borrow forward and let them run some routes at practice? But how do you kind of make that up at practice?
Kerry Angelon's 6'7", so that's the closest we got. Chris Tootle, C.J. Riley. When we get one-on-ones against our offense every day, those matchups become very critical. But obviously when the game starts, 6'7", 6'7", you got to do your best and time your ability to jump and be physical with guys like that at the line of scrimmage. That's the one thing when you're playing a longer guy, there is a lot of surface area for you to get your hands on them early. So we've got to do a good job at that.
And on the flip side of that, how much does it help to have a guy like Shaheem who's 6'3" and Malik who's 6'4" to kind of make up for that size difference?
Yeah, I think on the perimeter we're pretty good when it comes to height matchups. It's more when the safeties are covering that big tight end, which is pretty much how it is every week for a safety. Most of the tight ends in this league are 6'5", so it's kind of what you deal with there. You have to be physical and try to get them off their routes and make quarterbacks make really accurate throws by not just letting people run free.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet, Jonas.
Mike Toper.
Coach, good afternoon. No Hoosier quarterback questions this weekend. That's got to be nice.
Yeah, that's a plus.
I want to ask you, Monday you had talked about repeatedly about having you guys have the chip on the shoulder and kind of practicing the right way as you progressed, and we're now past Thursday here. How have the practices been, and can you get that, or have you gotten that sense of, remain focused looking at Virginia?
Yeah, I think this team learned a lot. We've spoken about that already coming out of the Virginia Tech week, and they put an action plan in place for last week that was successful for them. So they've tried to take that same plan, that same approach, and we had a good week of practice. Is it good enough to win? I guess we'll find out this weekend, but there definitely wasn't a day where I didn't feel like we weren't competing the way we need to. There's things we got to get better at. There's fundamentals, there's technique, there's execution. But the effort and the intensity and understanding of what we're trying to get done out there has been excellent.
Brett.
Dave, last year you had a pretty long stretch of road games. Does that help at all this year with the 3 straight to prepare? Or because of COVID and all the protocols and things that are different, is this totally unique?
I don't really like being gone 3 straight weeks regardless of what's going on, pandemic or not. I don't know. I guess we'll pay the benefit of this at the end of the year because we've got a bunch of home games to finish the season. But, it's just for the kids to have to miss school 3 straight Fridays. I don't think that's good for guys academically. I wish we could space that out a little better as a league, but that's what we have.
From a football standpoint, though, does it help that you have been through this before, or is there any advantage to having done this 2 weeks in a row now?
It doesn't help what we did last year because a lot of these kids weren't even out there, so that doesn't help.
I'm talking having 2 weeks prior to this, because of all the protocols and how maybe you're used to them a little bit more now.
Yeah, I think you guys are making more out of that stuff than there really is. I think the flight is different because we're not getting on an airplane until we know the results of our tests, so that's different. But the bus trip's really not that different. There's really, other than the guys have more leg room because we were taking more buses, which they actually probably like that better than having 45 guys jammed into a bus. So I don't look at this as a very difficult task when it comes to busing somewhere.
Thanks, Dave.
Schnicker.
Dave, Pitt seems like Pitt did a pretty good job of stopping the run against you guys, and obviously there were a lot of situations in the fourth quarter where you had to throw it. And I know you guys want to run the ball and want to be able to have that balanced offense, but how good is it to know that when that run isn't there for you guys, that you've got a passing game that's capable of moving the ball pretty much strictly through the air?
Yeah, I mean, I said this before. You're not going to beat Pitt running the football. There's a reason they're ranked #1 in the nation in rushing defense going into our game. They've got their whole team up there, so you have to throw to win. You run the ball to be physical against them. You run the ball to get, short yardage first downs. You run the ball to be balanced. But to score points and beat Pitt, you have to throw the football. And we were able to do that, obviously. And it does give us confidence knowing that we have that ability. I know our receivers have been waiting for that opportunity because, in the first game we were able to run the ball basically whenever we wanted. So I think the balance that we want to have, the ability to use their numbers against them defensively is important for us as this year continues, because you don't want to be a team where they're just going to pack the box and say you can't throw it and then you can't. That's not going to be a successful team if that's who we are.
Gibby.
Yeah, Coach, we talked to Shaheem just a little bit ago, big-time recruit. I think people, when you're a big-time recruit, they expect you to come in right away. But there's a process, isn't there, to get to this point and to get some playing time? Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think for all these guys, recruiting has created almost like a false reality for them. All the edits and the social media and the public fanfare and put you on a pedestal and make you feel like you're already ready for the NFL. It's unfair to these kids because that's not reality. Reality is they get on a college campus, they're now the youngest guy on the team, and everybody there was just like them in high school. And some of them are mature enough to handle it. Some of them are just super gifted and the game's not fast, but that's a very small percentage. Most of them come in and need time to develop, and they need the game to slow down in their head a little bit. And that's okay. I mean, that's why most freshmen don't play. In Shai's case, he's on the field as a redshirt freshman, and he's starting. And I would say that's way ahead of the curve for most people. If you're a 3-year starter in the ACC or the SEC, you're an elite football player. So he's in a pretty good position right now, and it doesn't seem like waiting a year to be out there is really that long in the grand scheme of things when you think about it.
And he said that he chose NC State over Clemson to win a big-time local kid in a battle like that. That's obviously good for your program.
It is. We obviously make a big deal out of keeping these young men home for their families. I do think as they transition from high school to college, that first year is very challenging. And being close to your family and letting them be around you and being able to go to church with them. And there's value in that. And once they see that we can help them develop, not only as a football player, a lot of the players we've had have had NFL opportunities, but they see what the Wolfpack has for them academically and postgraduate, all the things that are out there internship-wise and job-wise for our graduates. It's a big deal. And it's taken a while to get it that way. When we first got here, there was a lot of players like Todd Gurley and that bunch that were going out of the state and playing in other places. So, I think the efforts that our staff has made, the efforts that some of our competitors in the state have made to keep players home, it's paying off for both schools.
Thanks, Coach.
Alec.
Hey, Dave, we talked to Tanner Engel a little bit ago, and he had a pretty gutsy performance this weekend. I know he was dealing with some cramps, some other things, and came back and made some plays. To have a team captain have a performance like that where he does grind one out, how much of an impact does that have on maybe some of the younger guys to see that in the secondary?
Well, I think he has to play like that. I mean, that's why he's voted captain, because he's tough. And, he talks a lot about how much this game matters to him, and you can't talk like that and then be out. You've got to be able to play if you're capable of playing medically. And so that's what we expect from Tanner. It's very hard to get him out, to be honest. The doctors could tell you he's not playing and he'll fight one of those guys, like he's going to try to play. He does not want to miss. So it was great to see him come back and make the last play of the game, because he gave up the first touchdown of the game. So it was great to see him come back and finish the way he did.
Thank you.
Brett, you have another one?
Yeah, Dave, where do you stand personnel-wise in the secondary this week compared to last week? Because I know you guys were really thin last week.
Yeah, we're the same. And it won't change until Tyler Baker-Williams is let out of his contact tracing, which should be this Sunday or Monday. So we'll have him back for the next game.
How about
But,
Raheem?
What?
How about Raheem?
He's
Ashford.
out. He's done. Yeah, he's out.
Mike Topper, one more.
Oh, yeah, just one more, Coach. Looking specifically at Saturday, as you progress through the week, looking at their QB, Brennan Armstrong, obviously he's a dual threat and can run the ball a lot, but he does have his targets like Kemp that he likes. What has been the most challenging in trying to, I guess, game plan to keep him in the box and kind of prevent him from getting out and running there?
Yeah, well, he's tough, first of all. One of the reporters out there kind of compared him to a linebacker if he was a defensive player, and I think that's accurate. I think he's a very competitive, physical, hard-running guy, and there's a lot of run game designed for him that way. He's not a guy that slides, and, he's physical, and we respect that about him. So we got to do a good job containing him. We got to tackle him. We got to force him to beat us throwing the football too. We've got to make that run game be something that's not keeping him on the field, and our guys are going to have to make some plays in one-on-one coverage to do that, obviously. But it's like every quarterback you play. You want to try to get him in the 3rd and long and see if he's good enough. And I know he'll compete hard. You can see that on film.
Anything else for Coach Doeren? All right, Coach, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys, have a good one. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.